Hey kids, it's Mr. Fly here, hope you're well, and welcome back. Bike News is back. It's been 3 months since we did one of these. I've got 12 copies of MCN to catch up on, so if you're interested in what's been going on in the world of motorcycles here in the UK since January, stick around and stay tuned. Alright, so apologies that Bike News has been away for a while. Lots of people have asked where it's been, so it is back now. It will be back onto its usual monthly schedule. As I say, I've got quite a lot of papers to go through because I haven't done one of these since the end of December, in fact. So we'll flash through a few of these, but this is likely to go on for up to an hour. So grab yourself a brew, treat this as kind of a podcast, and let's crack on with the Bike News for March 2023 plus. Alright, first story then that I picked up here is this: BMW's Centurion's special new heritage models revealed as the German firm mark 100 years of building bikes. Now this is the RnineT and the R18, both gorgeous looking bikes, bikes that I've ridden a while back. The R18 I think looks lovely, but I would struggle to live with it because it's just kind of heavy and difficult to live with. But the R90 I think is an absolutely corking bike. It came out about probably, I don't know, what, 8 or 9 years ago now. Seems to have been around for a while, to great acclaim. I've always loved them. They come out in various flavours, and now they've brought out this special edition. So let's read what it says. BMW are marking 100 years in the motorcycle business with a special edition R90 Roadster and R18 Cruiser. First arrival will be the £18,040 R90 100 year edition, which hits dealers, or hit dealers I should say, back in February, so it should be there now if you're interested. The special Roadster receives a number of options 719 parts, a number of paint on chrome finishes for added sparkle and additional durability. This includes the 18 litre fuel tank, which features black and chrome plus twin white pinstriping. You also get knee pads like the models of yesteryear and special badging to mark the anniversary. I think they look absolutely lovely. If I had space and money, I'd definitely have an R90 in my garage. I think they look great. Let me know what you think about these. Special paint jobs to mark 100 year anniversary of BMW bikes. So fantastic. Check them out. All right, next up. Now this is an amazing story. This is all new R9 incoming ? And this is the rumours, probably more than rumours actually, that Yamaha are looking to build a new MT09 powered R9 sports bike. Now you may have seen my recent review of the R7, which is twin powered, uses the engine from the MT07. I like that bike. It looked lovely. It looked a bit like an R1 and it rode well, but I really like a triple cylinder bike. If they came up with an R9 with the triple out of the MT09, I think they could be onto an absolute winner, a real world sports bike for the road. So let's see what MCN say here. This picture here is a mock-up that MCN have put together. Fresh rumours of a 3-cylinder Yamaha R9 middleweight sports bike have emerged from Japan. Bridging the gap between the parallel twin R7 and the full-fat 999cc R1 superbike, the R9 would likely offer a more usable package on the road than the old rev-hungry 4-cylinder R6, taking advantage of the MT's meaty mid-range and low-end punch. If our contacts are correct, an official release in 2024 would coincide with the R1's 25th anniversary. Yamaha filed applications for the name R9 in the European Union, this is the giveaway, the UK, the USA, Canada, Australia and New Zealand, as well as the YZF R9 tag in the Philippines. The Japanese firm's own range provides further evidence that it will appear, with the fared R125, R3, R7 and R1 all having a naked MT counterpart. So yeah, it makes complete sense to have an R9, doesn't it? MCN approached Yamaha about the model, but they were not prepared to comment, so it's not going to be around this year, but does look pretty, I mean, there are pretty good clues that it's on the cards, isn't it? And yeah, I think that's going to be an absolutely corking sports bike. Interested to hear what you think. What a winner. All right, next part here, Easy Tigers is the headline here. They pitted the Triumph Tiger 850 Sport against the Triumph Tiger Sport 660. Two bikes I know well and two bikes that I loved riding. Interesting this. It's interesting how Triumph have done the naming or marketing of these bikes. The fact that the Tiger Sport 660 is very much a sport tourer do-it-all bike, and of course the 850 is more of an off-road adventure bike. The Tiger Sport 660 is 8745, the 850 Sport is 9495, and of course the 850 Sport, confusingly, has the same triple cylinder engine as the Tiger 900s, and the 660 has a 660 cc triple as well. Both triples, both basis of the same engine actually. And both great bikes to ride. I love them both. Be tricky to, I don't know which one I'd have if I was in that market, I must admit. I guess you go with the one you like the look of, whether you like the rugged adventure bike look or whether you like the more sport tourer. Let's see what MCN had to say. This is from Jim Moore. Price is hard to ignore. This test is about which bike about which bike is better or worse, because they vary different in what they deliver and the way they ride. Rather, it's about which bike best suits your needs, and of course that should always be the case, shouldn't it? Of the two, the 660 gets my vote. It's not an adventure bike, rather a mid-sized sports tourer, and in that role the smallest Tiger is superb. This trumps combination of agile chassis, predictable yet engaging handling, quality build and the best motor in class makes for a superb package that's underpinned by a price that's hard to ignore. And the price difference here is the Tiger Sport 660 8745, the Tiger 850 9495, so considerably more for the Tiger 850, and if you're only riding on the road, then maybe the Sport's the way to go. But very similar bikes otherwise. I think both very enjoyable. You wouldn't be disappointed with either of them. Go for the one you like the look of most would be my advice. Alright, now this is something that's of great interest to me at the moment. Small in size, big on character. This is the Honda Dax that has been reintroduced into the range. I've got one in the garage at the moment. Honda have lent me one of these. You will be seeing some reviews on this coming soon, as well as the other Honda mini bikes. Can't wait to bring those videos. But let's see what MCM say about this. You might get laughed at aboard the reborn Honda Dax, but it might just be you who gets to laugh the longest. Riding the new Dax couldn't be easier. There's no manual clutch. It's a centrifugal type in keeping with smaller STs, and the 4 gears are selected via a heel and toe lever, so that's interesting. No clutch, but 4 gears, so that's going to be fascinating to ride. I've never ridden a bike like that before. There's a definite ridiculousness to riding a Dax, but that's what makes it such a hoot. Embrace the ludicrous spectacle that you'll no doubt provide, and you'll have a ball. Well, I like making a bit of a spectacle myself, so no problem at all there. So cannot wait. I haven't ridden it yet, but as I say, we'll be riding this over the next couple of weeks and bringing you some videos. Let me know if you're interested in knowing more about this, because it will sort of determine how many videos I make on this and the other Honda mini bikes. I've also got the Grom, which I've never ridden, and the monkey bike as well, and I'll be sort of doing individual reviews and comparisons across the board between them all. That's my current plans, but if you want more than that, let me know in the comments below and I'll see what I can do. Alright, so that's it for the first paper. Just a couple of stories from the second one that I wanted to pull out. New Scram 450 spotted in testing. Now this is interesting. Enfield have new liquid cooled 450 single in the pipeline. Now I don't think they've done a liquid cooled bike before, have they? And certainly not a 450 single. So let's see what MCN have to say. Just actually before that, looking at the pictures here, it looks like I'd call it a modern retro, if you like. It's a Roadster. It looks like a proper bike with a traditional fuel tank, round headlight, and so on. But it's not sort of retro. It doesn't hark back to any old bikes in the way that the Classic does, or the Interceptor. It's a modern-looking Roadster, but in a sort of a retro style, if you like, the same way as the, I don't know, the Honda CB1000 is, for example. Anyway, let's see what MCM say. Spy shots have emerged from Southern Europe showing a new liquid-cooled 450 Scrambler in the works from Royal Enfield. Although a 450 single won't be setting any speed records, it would be the only liquid-cooled engine in the range. Exactly when we might see the Scram in dealers remains to be seen, but from the shots we can reveal here, it looks to be a while away. So still very much a work in progress, but yeah, the first liquid cooled single from Royal Enfield. That's going to be interesting, but it sounds like it's a while off yet. Right, next article I've highlighted here. I love GSs, as you know. My channel was pretty much built on my GS that I bought now 10 years or so ago. It says here, runaway success. Faced with such stiff competition, why does BMW's R1250 GS Adventure remain the most popular all-round option? And can it stay that way? Now, the Adventure actually sells more than the standard bike, which is a surprise to me, because other than kind of bragging rights to say you got the biggest and best, I'm not sure in this country at least why you'd need the Adventure, because of course it's got the bigger fuel tank, which means you've got less fuel stops. So great if you're in Australia or somewhere like that where the fuel stops are few and far between, but in this country that's not the case, and the standard bike would be fine. However, it does outsell, I believe, the standard bike. So it says here, remarkably, despite being not only costlier but also more unwieldy at low speed because of extra weight, of course, the GSA outsells the standard GS. And also, I'm making a bit of a cock up of this, it also has longer travel suspension and boosted fuel capacity, and it still outsells the standard GS in the UK. So in comparison, in 2021, standard GS were 1427 and 1766 GSAs were sold. So 300 more GSAs. So it's fairly even, Stevens, but a few more GSAs. Anyway, let's see what MCN say about why it stayed at the top of the tree for so long. It'll do all you ask of it. Why is the R1250 GS Adventure such a big seller? Simple. Because it's a fabulous bike and it's so incredibly well developed following decades of evolution that its faults are few and far between. And that's the thing with this bike. They've been at the GS for a long time now, haven't they? And they've got it down to a fine art. It's difficult for competitors to catch up with this thing. Even though they, on paper, other bikes are as good, the GS is still the king for me. Can't wait to see the new 1300 whenever that comes out. It's quite simply a remarkable motorcycle that can turn its hand to anything asked of it, and I couldn't agree more. Fabulous bit of kit. Alrighty, next paper. Right, just 2 stories I've picked out here, and this is from the paper from January the 11th, so we're going back a little way here, but just trying to catch up to date again, so we can restart bike news from next month with just the recent stuff. Cleaner racing, cleaner planet. Now this is an interesting story. This is from Triumph. Well, let me read you what it says, and then we can talk about it. Triumph's Chief Product Officer Steve Sargent has spoken exclusively to MCN about developing ethanol-rich E40 fuel for Moto 2 by 2024, and how that could influence the sustainability of road bikes. I think there's a consensus amongst the European manufacturers that electric can't be the only answer. Do you remember Triumph developed that T1 electric bike? It looked lovely, everybody raved about it in terms of its looks and its power and so on, but ultimately Triumph said they weren't going to make it because it was too expensive to make, I think was their reasoning at the time. Anyway, back to the article. Sustainable fuels, we'd like to be able to demonstrate to the European Commission and the UK government, just to say, hey look, there is an alternative and potentially it's a quicker win, is what Steve Sargent's saying. A higher quantity of ethanol reduces the need for us to drill for as much crude to make petrol, and therefore lowers net carbon emissions. A lot of us are finding through our electric motorcycle projects is they're just so massively restricted by range, and that again is what they found with the TE1. Triumph made no secret of their own electric development. Following the research into the TE1 though, Sargent remains unconvinced and believes the trickle down from racing could allow more sustainable fuels to sit alongside electric in the future. Well, that's great news as far as I'm concerned, because I love internal combustion engines. I think electric bikes have their place in the urban commuter environment for sure, but for us enthusiasts that like riding our bikes on a sunny Sunday, internal combustion engines for me are just much more fun. I love the visceral nature of them, the feel, the vibrations, the sound and so on, and if we can go with these more biofuel type fuels, then maybe we can keep our internal combustion engines. That would be fantastic. So again, let me know what you think of that in the comments below. Next up, Eighth Wonders. With so many bikers, young and old, choosing 125s, what would MCN's newest rider buy if we handed in the cash? And we won't, is what MCN said. So they've got 3 125s here. And this is a new MCN videographer, Joseph Wright. He's age 22. If he was to get a bike, which one would he have? They pitted the Honda CB125R, which looks lovely. Looks sort of neo-retro, as Honda say. It looks really nice, $4,599. With the Zontes G1 Scrambler, 3,649. And the Fantic Caballero Scrambler at 5,569. So the Fantic's the most expensive. Just looking at those, out of the 3, given that none of them are going to be amazing performers, I would go for the Honda. I think it just looks lovely. But let's see what MCN have said. Michael Neves has written the verdict here for Joseph. He says, Honda's CB125R might have been a slow burner for Joseph, but it's the 125 he'd buy. Oh, he also liked it. He found it light, smooth, easy to ride, and loved its looks and road presence. It was the best handling of the bunch, thanks to its controlled suspension, stronger brakes and road tyres. So we agree, Joseph, that's good. Which is why he bought a £900 Yamaha YBR 125 as his first bike, so he went second hand. Which is fair enough if you're only going to keep a bike for a short period, of course. But there we go. So yeah, they agree with me that the Honda's the one to have. They've given the Zontes 3 out of 5, the Honda 4 out of 5, and the Caballero 3 out of 5, which surprised me a bit because normally MCN are fans of the Fantics, but this time the Honda's shone through. All right, that's it for the third paper. Still with me? So again, towards the end of bike news, of course, I will be doing parish notices, and I'll take you through some of the things that are coming up on the channel in the next month as well. So stick around, stay tuned to the very end of the video for that, if you're interested in what's coming up on the channel. All right, quite a few stories here, even though I tried to just pick out a few because I knew we had so many papers to get through. This one seems to be packed with stuff. So sad story to start with. Robbie Knievel, remembered. Now, remember Evil Knievel of the 70s? Huge star, a massive showman. He was up there with the likes of Muhammad Ali for famousness at the time. Did all sorts of tricks and stunts. Jumped the Grand Canyon. Well, it wasn't really the Grand Canyon. I think it was the Snake River or something. He didn't get permission to do the Grand Canyon. Did it on a steam-powered rocket bike. Parachute deployed when he took off. All ended in tears. Well, Robbie Knievel carried on his tradition as his son, and he actually bettered him, I think, in every category of jump. He jumped further. He even jumped the Grand Canyon, the real Grand Canyon, or at least a tributary of. So arguably a better daredevil and stunt rider, but never, of course, got anywhere near the same level of fame, which is interesting. Anyway, sadly, he's died. Let's see what it says. Motorcycle stunt riding icon Robbie Knievel has passed away at the age of 60, a bit before his time, after a battle with pancreatic cancer. The son of the late Evil Knievel took on 350 jumps and achieved 20 world records in his time, including leaping 231 feet, wow, over the Grand Canyon in May 1999 in honour of his father. His father, who later said, "I'm not the greatest daredevil in the world, I'm the father of the greatest daredevil in the world." So that's something indeed, isn't it, coming from Evil himself. What a fantastic name. I think Evel Knievel was really master of showman, master of marketing, but really sad that that's the end of that era now. Robbie Knievel's gone before his time by the sounds of it, and yeah, no more Knievel stunts, unfortunately. Right, next up, what do you think of this? Just park it under the desk. Now, I'm not a huge fan of electric bikes, as I've said in the past, but they do have their place in the commuter market, and here's one that folds up like a suitcase. It says here, the motorcycle in the suitcase, named the Tatamor, don't know what that means, probably something in Japanese or something, is an electric concept designed for the urban environment that packs some serious ingenuity. I wouldn't disagree with that. At the heart of the tiny commuter is a 51.2 volt battery powering a 600 watt motor, which will propel the Tatamor to almost 25 miles an hour and gives it a range of around 18 miles. I'm surprised it's only that, actually, because I've got an electric bicycle. You might have seen my review of the I call it Crusher, but I think it's called actually a Rusher. I'll put a link to that in the corner in case you haven't seen that. That's got, I think, something like a 300 watt motor or 250 watt motor. It'll do 15 miles an hour, it'll do 60 mile range, and it's a lot smaller, the battery, than this looks, I think. Anyway, so it surprised me that the range is in that. Nevertheless, if you're only going from the station to your office, say 25 miles an hour and 18 miles is probably enough. Anyway, it says here it can be recharged using domestic supplies in 3 hours, so perhaps it's a small capacity battery. What do you think about this, though? What do you think about this bike? Would you be seen on this? It looks pretty small to me. I love the idea of urban transport, but I just wonder if you're in London traffic, how exposed would you feel on one of those? I think I'd feel pretty exposed. But having said that, probably better than one of those scooters that we see people on. Anyway, there we go. I just thought that was interesting. That is where electric bikes do make some sense. Well, another idea I want to run past you. See what you make of this, whether you agree or disagree with me here. Fighter pilot kit ready to roll. A new way to navigate while riding could soon be released onto the mass market as Swiss company Aegis Rider looks set to release an augmented reality heads-up display to bolt into your lid. Now, I quite like this idea. Heads-up displays on cars work really well, but with crash helmets, it's number one, it's another thing to charge up, isn't it? If you've already got a comm system and your phone and everything else to charge up before you go for a ride, for me, it's just hassle. And also, I'm not too sure. I've got a lot of helmets, luckily for me, but you know, how easy is it going to be to swap it between helmets? That sort of thing kind of puts me off. Anyway, let's read what else it says here. Information is relayed to the rider in real time, and the system also monitors the helmet's precise position and orientation in relation to the bike, so warnings can be superimposed at the right spot. That's pretty clever stuff. They claim one thing that separates it from current options is that the information is displayed in such a way that the rider doesn't have to refocus their eyes to view it, which makes an awful lot of sense. So it sounds like the tech is all there. Whether it makes practical sense from a charging up the battery point of view and moving it from helmet to helmet, although looking here at this picture, looks like he's wearing it like glasses, so maybe it's just on a pair of glasses you can wear with any helmet, I don't know. But anyway, would you be interested in a heads-up display? Not too sure where I stand on it. I think possibly not. I'm a bit of a technology Luddite, really, but I can't really put my finger on it other than it's another gadget that you've got to keep charging batteries up for. Okay, next up, the simple life. Is it time you turned your back on technology? Well, it sort of links in with what we're just saying. Lots of us are after the simple life, aren't we? Let's face it, the fun bits of bikes are the you know, the engine, the noise, the wind, the smells, the vibrations, all that stuff. It's not the tech that's packed on them, would be my argument. So here they've put the Fantic Caballero Scrambler 500 up against the Mash X-Ride 650 Trail. The reason why I mention this is I recently rode the Mash X-Ride 650 Trail. My review is coming up soon. I quite liked it, actually. I have ridden the Fantic Caballero a while ago up at Crazy Horse, like that too, but to me the Fantic felt a little bit built to a price. So we'll see what MCM say, but the Fantic is actually 6,700 quid, the Mash X-Ride 5,500. So more than, well, it's about 1,200 quid difference between them, the Mash being cheaper. The Mash is also physically a much bigger bike to ride. Anyway, let's see what MCN said. So this is John Urry writing. He says, call me a Caballero. See what you've done there, John, very good. How Fantic have managed to produce the Caballero almost entirely in Italy while keeping such a reasonable price is impressive. Better still, they have achieved this feat while retaining a huge amount of spirit and style, all wrapped up in a thoroughly modern feeling Scrambler, which is where Mash have gone wrong. This is interesting. It may be 1,150 cheaper than the Fantic, but the Chinese bike feels built down to a price point where the Italian machine is a thoroughly polished product that never gives the impression that any corners have been cut. I'm surprised at that. The Caballero 500 I rode a while ago was before they had the type, I think, for engines with Yamaha, and before, I think those engines are now made under license with Yamaha in Italy. The one I rode did have a Chinese motor, and it was the engine that let it down. So maybe I'm being unfair on the Fantic here. The mash, though, I found was absolutely fine. As I say, you'll see my review coming up soon, so I'll say no more because of spoiler alert. But what they've done is given the Fantic 5 out of 5, and surprisingly to me, the Mash X-Ride 3 out of 5. But there we go. Do you like the looks of those? All right, last story in this paper, I think. New Enfield cruisers reach for the stars. Now, this is the new Super Meteor that I haven't had a chance to ride yet, although I probably could have done, but to be honest, I'm not that keen on the looks of this. This has got the same engine in it as the Enfield Interceptor, a bike that I love, and a great engine, but I'm not a big fan of feet-forward cruisers, and also for me, cruisers really should have a big old thumping engine, and ideally be American. That's just me. So I don't know whether this appeals to you or not. Let me know in the comments below if you'd like me to ride one of these, because I have had the chance to ride one, and I've sort of said not really that interested, but maybe I should be. If you're interested in this bike, then I'll be happy to ride it and let you know what I think. Anyway, it says here, introducing the range-topping Super Meteor 650 Duo, a standard cruiser model at 6,799 and a tourer at 7,299, which uses the same air oil-cooled 8-valve 648cc parallel twin and 270-degree crank engine. That's the one out of the Interceptor. The Bosch ECU-equipped fuel-injected engine produces a claimed crank figure of 46.3 brake horsepower, so it's A2 plant. Peak torque at 38.5 foot-pounds, arrives at 5650 RPM, 400 revs higher than the older 650 twins. No mechanical changes to the engine in the new models, only the airbox and exhaust are new, and it's got a revised mapping to give it that change in RPM. Yeah, I don't know, it's just not my style of bike, basically. You can't like them all, can you? And this one, you know, generally I'm a Royal Enfield fan, but this one doesn't do it for me. What's the verdicts that MCN give it? Brilliant, and more to come. They like it, clearly. It says here, they're enjoyable to ride thanks to a great engine and super handling, and when you take the affordable price point into consideration, it looks like Royal Enfield will have yet another global hit on their hands. So MCN very much like it. So yeah, maybe I'm being a little bit hasty there, and maybe I should give one a go. I certainly prefer the look of the one without the touring screen on it, that's for sure. Anyway, again, let me know what you think of that and whether you'd like to see me ride one. Alrighty, MOTs every 2 years. This is, in case you don't know, here in the UK we have something that's MOT stands for Ministry of Transport test. We have it every year at the moment, and there's proposals to, number one, extend when you have to first have that to 4 years as opposed to 3 as it is on a new bike at the moment, and then to do the test every couple of years instead of every year. It says here, the Department for Transport, which is what the MOT is now called, has announced a consultation into the future of MOTs for cars, motorcycles and vans, proposing a move from 3 to 4 years for the first test with 24-month checks thereafter. The proposals are apparently born out of advancements in vehicle technology and the rise in electric and hybrid cars. Commentating on the planned changes, AA President Edmund King told MCN, "We totally oppose any change from an annual MOT." I'm surprised by this. With 1 in 10 cars failing their first MOT, we strongly discourage the government from extending a car's first MOT to the 4th anniversary due to road safety concerns. So he's very much talking about cars there as opposed to bikes, but I guess the same thing holds true. Interesting. I, for one, would like to see it extended. I'm fortunate enough to have a number of bikes and cars, and it's a right pain trying to keep up with when to get the MOTs done. And occasionally you forget, and if you then drive or ride something that hasn't got an MOT, you can get fined for it and points on your licence. So I don't want to go down that route. So if it's every other year, it would certainly make my life easier, though I can see for those garages that provide MOT tests, it's a bit of a blow. Anyway, either way, the AA don't think it's a good idea just on safety grounds, but interested to see what you think of that. Again, in the comments below, stick your notes down there. Like to read those. This thing comes up every now and then. Whether it's actually going to change, who knows. Okay, next up. Big year for key players. Record sales show the allure of motorcycles is on the rise. This is a good news story. BMW have announced their best ever motorcycle sales with a total of 202,000 bikes and scooters finding new homes, an increase of 4.4% over the previous years. Ducati too are reflecting on record sales. They've sold 61,000 across the globe, representing a 3.6% growth over the 2021 figures. That's interesting, isn't it? And after the doldrums of, well, actually, they did quite well in the pandemic, bike sales, didn't they? But what I think is interesting about this, number one, it's good news that bikes are selling, but the fact that BMW seem to sell almost 4 times what Ducati sell is quite interesting. I don't know if I knew that anyway, but I've never seen it written down in quite black and white form like that. But that's yeah, that's a big difference, isn't it? Right, new Bristol Megastore. I had to mention this. Sponsors of the channel, Superbike Factory, have been opening some new branches. When this issue came out, they'd opened a new Bristol Megastore. They'd previously had stores only in the north of England. This obviously brings Superbike Factory to the south. It says here, Superbike Factory are bringing their massive stock of used motorbikes to the southwest with a new showroom in Bristol. The venue will eventually have 400 bikes in stock. The new showroom joins Superbike Factory's existing locations in Cheshire, Donington Park and Bradford. There is also a remote click and collect service available for riders in London. So that's great news. Since this, in fact, they've also opened a branch locally to me in Milton Keynes. Well, local-ish, it's certainly in Buckinghamshire, which is a long, thin county, but it's in my county. So you can now go to Superbike Factory in Milton Keynes as well as in Bristol and the north. And I think I saw last week on social media that they've opened yet another store in Yorkshire as well. So more and more Superbike Factories spreading around. Great news if you want to physically go and have a look at bikes rather than looking at them on their, albeit very impressive, website on the web. Anyway, they are channel sponsors. Go and check them out, superbikefactory.co.uk, and it's amazing the stock they've got, and they're the people that supply me with bikes for my classic bike review. So thank you very much to you guys for continuing to sponsor the channel. All right, moving on. The best of British, BSA and Royal Enfield, may be Indian owned, but both have very British designs and routes. So which wins the retro war? This is a very popular comparison, BSA Gold Star versus the Royal Enfield Interceptor. Both bikes I love, both bikes I've ridden. I do own an Interceptor, but had the BSA Gold Star been out at that time, maybe I would have bought one of those instead. I don't know. Let's see what MCM say. Give BSA a gold star. Again, very clever play on words from Phil West there. With the Enfield proven to be so good and rightfully popular, the new gold star was always like to have an uphill battle. Very true. The gold star is not perfect. Some details, such as that awful USB pod, it's like a pod on the handlebars, which looks a bit incongruous, is not doesn't have proven reliability or residuals wise. Its dealers are new, and so far there are no accessories. But the gold star itself is a brilliant first effort, and I would agree at that. They've given both bikes 4 out of 5. They're very difficult to choose between, actually. The Gold Star I felt a little bit more peppy, a little bit quicker off the mark, and I love the looks of the Gold Star. It just it looks properly like an old BSA to me. But similarly, you could say the same about the Royal Enfield. Both great. The Gold Star 7,100, Enfield 6,399. So the Enfield is considerably cheaper. I thought the BSA would come in at a much more competitive price than that, but I see there are opening more and more dealers now as well. So you know, you can get your hands on these, I think, now if you want one. If I had space in my garage, I would definitely have one, probably alongside the Interceptor. I think they're both great bikes. Right, that's it for that paper. Still with me? Get yourself another brew. This could go on. I reckon this could be, well, how long will we be going? I don't know how long we're going, but it's going to go on for we've got another 6 papers to get. We're about halfway through, put it that way. All right, here we go. I'll try and speed up a bit. Little Lionheart. Peugeot sets to return to bikes with new PM01 models. Peugeot are re-entering the motorcycle market with their new PM01 models, available in 125 and later in the year 300cc guises. The 125 produces 13.7 brake horsepower. It has dual channel ABS as standard rather than the link system, which you often get on 125s. It's got a distinctive 3-claw LED headlight design encased in a colour-coded cowling. An LED rear light and USB port are also standard. TFT screen with connectivity and a low seat height of 810mm. The 125 is expected in showrooms in the second quarter of this year in jet blue, sharp white or matte black, and we're priced at £1 under 4,000 quid. The 300cc is due later in the year, and that'll have 29 brake horsepower. What do you make of these? Good when new manufacturers come back or pop up into biking. Peugeot, of course, established in the past. These, not sure about the looks of these, personally. I mean, great to see them back, but I don't know about the looks of that. To me, looks a bit ugly. What do you reckon of that? Anyway, good to see Peugeot back in the game. Right, Transalp undercuts V-Strom by £1,000. Little story tucked away here. The Transalp eagerly awaited. The bike, the off-road adventure type bike using the same engine as the Honda Hornet has, and we all have raved about. Honda have confirmed that their incoming XL 750 Transalp adventure bike will cost $9,499 on the road, which is £1,000 less than the new Suzuki V-Strom 800DE. Sharing the same 755cc parallel twin as the naked Honda Hornet, the bikes are expected to arrive in dealers in early April. So around about now, you should start to see these in dealers. We'll talk more about the Transalp a bit later, so we won't dwell on that for now. Alright, Mondial's limited edition lightweight. This looks incredible. Now, I rode an FB Mondial. I can't remember what it was called. It was very similar to this years ago. If I got space and can work out how, I'll put a link in the corner to that ride. I really liked it. It's a 125cc, but it looks absolutely incredible. FB Mondial, of course, Italian make, but this, I think, is actually built in China these days. I'm not sure. This one's called the HBS 125 Ubiali. Well, let's read what it says. Limited edition specials don't usually appear in legal form, but Mondial's new HBS 125 ABS Ubiali, I'm probably pronouncing that incorrectly, edition is an exception. This beautifully styled single will have a total production of only 999 machines, which only 42 are coming to the UK. So if you want one, snap it up. First glance, it could be anything up to 500cc, such as its visual presence and full-size stance. It's 13.4 brake horsepower, standard 125 stuff. The Ubiali is swift off the mark for a 125 thanks to low gearing. The short gearing, previously so advantageous in town, actually holds them on dial back to 68 miles per hour flat out. But again, if you're in town, you're not going to be doing that very often. This bike is all about style, presence, and thanks to its limited UK import exclusivity. It's 4,249, which is only £50 more than the standard HPS that I rode. Lovely looking thing, beautiful seat, nice styling, great little exhaust. Yeah, I like that a lot. Let's see what Jim Moore says. He's their guest tester on MCN. He says 4,250 is a lot of money for something that barely tops the national speed limit. True. The tank range is poor. Few rides through the winter salt would wipe the glamour off its overall appearance. It is pretty though, so sounds like Jim isn't a fan. I certainly am a fan, but yeah, I take what he said. It is a cheap bike. I think it looks great, but yeah, you need to look after it if you don't want the Chinese parts to rust. I think it looks great. Anyway, there we go. That's that paper. 3 stories selected in this one. First up here, this is great news. ZXR for the modern age. Kawasaki confirm that the 4-cylinder ZX4R sports bike will be coming to the UK this year. This is brilliant news to me. 400cc bike with 4 cylinders is going to be an absolute screamer. It's going to be sound amazing, and you can have a lot of fun in the real world, on the road, on this bike. I cannot wait to see this in the flesh. Kawasaki are channeling their inner 1990s and have confirmed that a new Ninja ZX4R 4-cylinder screaming sports bike will be on its way to dealerships during the autumn of 2023. Fantastic. The ZX4R borrows styling traits from its larger sporting siblings and will produce a claimed 78.9 brake horsepower from its 399cc 4-cylinder engine. It will rev in excess of 15,000 RPM. That is going to sound epic, isn't it? And 78.9 brake horsepower, that's the perfect amount for the road, isn't it? This is going to be a great, fun, practical on-road sports bike, I'm sure. The bike will be available in 3 flavours across the globe: the standard ZX4R, an SE version and an RR version. So yeah, can't wait to see them and hopefully have a go. Kawasaki are expected to reveal prices for the new 400s later in the year. We shall be watching closely on that one. That sounds fantastic. I'm as excited about that as I am. I think that's going to be a cracking bike. Return of the SMT, new KTM 890 Adventure-based Supermoto Spy testing. Now KTM bringing out all sorts of models, aren't they, at the moment? It's sort of in-betweeners and re-emerging old bikes and all sorts. Well, this looks like the SMT Supermoto is on its way back in some form. KTM looks set to reveal a replacement for the much-missed 990 SMT of the late noughties, with spy shots emerging of a new road bias version of an 890 Adventure, complete with the sporty 17-inch front wheel. The SMT looks to be powered by the same ever-popular parallel twins found in the 890 Adventure, but loses the lower fairing and engine protection due to its strictly road bias. The new tank holds the fuel higher on the bike than on the standard 890 Adventure. Yeah, on the 890 Adventure, if you remember, it's got those tanks that are like a pair of breasts, holding, they're in that position is what I mean, holding the fuel nice and low and keeping the weight low, and that's one of the things that I really liked about the 890 Adventure. So on the SMT, if it's going to lose that, that'd be a bit of a shame. It might be a bit top heavy, but road focused, and with that smaller front wheel than the 890 Adventure, it's going to be great handling. So yeah, interested to see what that looks like. It doesn't say when it's going to be coming along or how much it costs, but yeah, very much spy shots at this stage, but we'll keep an eye on that one. All right, on the money. Great value do-it-alls that are everyday heroes. So this is looking at the BMW F900 XR, the Yamaha Tracer 9 GT, and again the Triumph Tiger 850 Sport. I've ridden all these bikes. I've been lucky enough to do that. I do love them all, actually. I particularly like the Tiger. I particularly like the F900 XR. It'd be a tough choice between those two for me. They're all, well, the Tracer's 13,000 quid plus. The BMW and the Triumph are 10,095 and 10,353, so considerably cheaper than the Tracer. And funnily enough, although the Tracer's good, it's probably the one that I wouldn't have, mainly because I don't like that split dash thing it had. Let's see what MCN have got to say. They're all great bikes. Well, I would agree with that. Even after 250 miles in a mix of weather conditions, opinion was split, so their testers couldn't choose between them, basically. So I think this again is a case of go which one you like the look of. For me, that's probably the BMW, actually, although I'm a fan of the Tiger, as I've said just now. The F900 does look great. Yeah, cracking looking bikes, and we're in the great times, aren't we, motorcycle bike at the moment. Sport for choice. It's given the F900 4 out of 5, the Triumph 4 out of 5, and the Yamaha Tracer gets 4 out of 5 as well, so all great bikes, as they say. All right, that's it, whiz through that one. 3 stories here that I want to mention. Peugeot's SUV scooter. Here we go, Peugeot again, this time coming out with a sort of an off-roady looking scooter. It reminds me very much of the Honda ADV 750. Do you remember that? Did a review of that. I'll put a link in the corner if I can work out how, and I've got enough links left. That was kind of an off-roady scootery thing as well, looked rugged, and I think it sold pretty well for Honda. A long time ago since I rode it. Looks like Peugeot are doing the same sort of thing. Haven't got much more to say about it other than I like the looks of it. What do you think of that one? Is that something that you might buy? Let me know in the comments below. Counting the cost. What's the best way to get to work and back when every penny matters? Now, this is an interesting comparison. They've got the Maeving electric bike, which I rode recently. Again, I'll put a link in the corner, because that video did surprisingly well. Got an awful lot of views. I think it's got over 100,000 views, that one, actually. So if you haven't seen it, it's well worth going to check it out, not only for the bike, but also for my leather trousers that seem to get quite a lot of comments. But that was a great bike, but quite expensive at £6,990. They're picking that against a Yamaha XSR 125 Legacy, £5,200, but in my mind, looks the best, because it's in black with gold wheels. That always wins for me. And then the Super Soco TC Max at 4,399, the cheapest, which is an electric bike. And arguably, you would say, if you're just doing it about cost, which is what this review is, I would think the Super Soco is the best value bike there, albeit not the best looking necessarily. But I love the Maeving, really stylish looking thing, but a lot of money for what is effectively a 125 power type bike, but great for commuting. The Yamaha looks fantastic. 5,200 quid, but yeah, the Soco is probably one if you're just on cost. Let's see what MCN said. The Soco does the job. The bike that is the best value combined with its ease of use in both an urban and B-road environment and also comfort levels is the Super Soco, says John Urry. It may be utilitarian, but the Soco does the job asked of it, and let's be honest, commuting isn't a pleasurable experience for most of the time anyway. That's very true, of course. So yeah, they go for the Super Soco. They've given it actually all 3 bikes have got 4 stars out of 5, which is a bit of a shame because it doesn't split between them. But yeah, all right, okie dokie. Last story here then. Aha, the Gentle Giant. The new 3rd generation Ducati Diavel V4 looks like a cruiser, but goes like stick. Now, I think this looks awesome. I've always loved the looks of Diavels. I've never been a massive fan when I ride them, though. I rode the original Diavel. I rode a bit of a knackered one in the US. It was a rental bike many years ago. It did me back in after a week. So that was a little bit disappointing because I thought I was going to really like it. Then I rode the X Diavel, which is the slightly different design version. Really liked it, but I found, again, that was a bit more recent. If I can, I'll put a link in the corner if I can find that one. That one, again, I was a bit disappointed with because after a long ride, it does your back in sitting upright like that and with your feet forward. This one, though, looking at this picture here, looks like Knievel on it. He's got his feet back, so maybe there's a centre peg option, which sounds better to me. And I do love the way this one looks. The 4 pipes out the back just look absolutely awesome. I know they sort of split opinion, but I think they look great. The only thing I'm not too keen on is maybe the indicators that look a bit like Brian the Snail here, whereas on the old bike, the indicators were sort of fed in at the sides, weren't they, which I thought looked pretty cool, but now we've got big air intakes there. But yeah, lovely looking thing. I think I'm right in saying I've got one booked in from Ducati to ride. If I haven't, I must be thinking about getting one. But certainly in the summer, I'm hoping to get a go on one of these, and I'll let you know what I think of it. But yeah, let me know if you're interested in that, again, because that will drive how much I do on this, whether I just do a first ride review or whether I do something more in depth on the bike. But I think it looks stonking. Love the rear lighting arrangement on there. What an absolute cracker. Looking forward to riding that one. Alright, just 2 stories in the next paper that I want to highlight. First off, Superbike Factory Open New Megastock. We've already talked about that. That's the one in Buckinghamshire that time. Here we go. Next story here. It's new, but is it worth it? The full SP. Is the new top spec Ducati Monster SP worthy of its premium price and badge? I absolutely love the looks of this. I rode the new Monster a little while ago when I took my Panigale in for its service. The Ducati dealership lent me one of these, not the SP, the standard bike, and it surprised me. It was not really on my radar, but I rode it and thought, actually, it really is a lovely bike to ride on the road. Again, if I can, I'll put a link in the corner to that one. Really liked it. Anyway, they brought out this new version with some fancy suspension and so on, as befits SP models. There's something evocative about an SP badged Ducati, says MCN. The new 13995 Monster SP is in dealers now. Isn't really full factory, but instead it's a regular production model and costs 2,007 more 2,700 more than the base bike, so 3 grand more, quite a lot. The SB Specialist comes from a host of chassis mods, full adjustable O-lins, a steering damper, Brembo style EMA calipers, and Pirelli Diavel Rosso 4 rubber. Weight is down 2 kilograms by 186 to 186 kilograms. It comes with a Moto GP rep paint job, Terminioni end cans, a nose fairing, rear seat cover, and of course that hallowed SP badge. Sounds good, doesn't it? It says here, the monster's character transforms from mild-mannered roadster to something approaching hyper-motard levels of lunacy. It isn't as factory as other SP badge Ducatis were back in the day, but it still has an air of specialness about it. It's beautifully put together and well worth the extra 2,700 over the base model for the extra excitement it brings, says Michael. Excellent. Well, I'd love to go on one of these as well, so maybe next time the bike's in for a service I can get to borrow one of these, or I might pop up to the dealer and just see if I can have a go. It does look lovely. I think for a ride like me, I'm a bit of a rubbish rider. Things like the Odin suspension might be a bit wasted on me. The brakes didn't seem bad to me anyway, so maybe the standard bike's better for me. And I think the standard bike actually was a little bit lower, I've got a feeling. So in fact, saving 3 grand as well, maybe I'll just go for the standard bike. But there's no doubt this looks lovely, and I would like to go on one to do a bit of a comparison. All right, that's that. We've got 4 to go. I'll try and make it quick. I only got 2 stories in this one. Parallel universe. How does Honda's NT1100 Tourer compare to the Africa Twin it's based on? Now, these both have the same engine, of course. The NT1100 came out last year. Rode that last year. Rode the Africa Twin many times before. And basically, the NT1100 I just found a bit nothing wrong with it. Nice, comfortable bike, but it wasn't that exciting. The Africa Twin I love the looks of, but for me is a bit of a shorty. Impractical. Found it a bit top heavy, and also the switchgear very complicated. Let's see what MCN say. Old like me, take the NT, says Phil West. Fair enough. Yes, the Africa Twin is a great all-rounder. It's fast, flexible and comfortable. It's sufficiently nimble, sure-footed and punchy. And on top of that, has genuine off-road ability and the sexy, sporty style that goes with it. Well, I'd never describe a bike as sexy, but fair enough. Yet the new unshowy NT1100 beats it on the first 2 of those, is slightly better equipped and better value. Me, I'd go for the NT, but then I'm now of a certain age when cocking my leg over a high saddle is a little off-putting and I no longer have ambitions to ride off-road. Fair enough. Yeah, I have no ambition to ride off-road either, and I also, being getting a bit older now, I find lugging about these tall, heavy adventure bikes a bit of a problem. So the NT certainly wins on that score, but for me, the Africa Twin just looks a lovely bike, doesn't it? It's got something about it that you look back in the garage and think, yeah, that's a nice bike, whereas the NT1100, for me, it just doesn't do it. I know some people love it, but it's not for me. They've given both bikes 4 out of 5. I'd take the Africa Twin. Right, next. New 765 RS is the Apex Predator. This is the new Triumph Street Triple RS. I'm a big fan of Street Triples. I used to own one. I regret selling my black and gold Street Triple R. I sold it a couple of years ago. For those that didn't realise, it's gone out the garage. I had to sell it to make room for Mrs. Flyers 125. I'm absolutely gutted, and I miss that bike every day. Anyway, there might be space one day, perhaps again, in the garage for another Street Triple. I hope so anyway. I think they're a great bike. This is the RS, the top spec one. Love the colour red here. It says here, racing DNA in its veins. This is what Michael Neve says. Triumph Moto 2's exploits have clearly rubbed off on the new Street Triple 765 RS. Acceleration and handling are sharper, and with such a friendly riding position and power delivery, it's a cinch to ride fast. Brakes have a newfound feel and power too. It'll be every bit as fun to ride on the road, and when you look at the performance, equipment, tech and build quality you get for the money, it's stonking value. It comes in at £11,295. I think if you want a fast roadster, then this is definitely one to always consider. The Street Triple has always been a great bike, and it looks like it just keeps getting better and better. I cannot wait to have a ride on one of these. I have got that booked in the diary with Triumph, so in the summer I'll be riding the RS and the R as well and comparing the two. Right, 2 more stories out the next paper. Hornet strikes. Can Honda's new budget CB750 Hornet Twin match or even beat Yamaha's class-leading MT-07? Now, the MT-07 has been around for a while now, hasn't it? And it's consistently topped the charts in terms of sort of middleweight roadsters. Now the Hornet's out, and it's been getting some rave reviews, including from myself. I love the Hornet. Let's see what MCN said. Honda has extra sting. It had to happen. Yamaha's MT-07 has been so dominant for so long as the affordable middleweight roadster twin, it couldn't stay on top forever. With the all-new Hornet 750, that day has finally come. Interesting. The Hornet's recipe is the same, but improved in every area. The engine's a similar twin, but more powerful, more refined, and with extra modes. It's even more economical. The chassis handling is similar, but with extra Honda sheen and higher spec brakes and suspension. The whole bike has extra substance and style. The king is dead. Long live the new king. Interesting. So that's good. I mean, actually, both these bikes although I really enjoyed riding the Honda, it doesn't look that good in my mind. But then, to me, the MT-07 doesn't either, particularly in this latest incarnation with that the front light setup. I thought the old bike looked better. So they're not great lookers, either of them, in my opinion, but that's just subjective, obviously. But then when you look at the details, I mean, for example, if you look at the dash here, the dash on the MT-07 does look a bit dated now, doesn't it, compared to the full colour TFT on the Honda, for example. The MT-07 is 7,200, the Honda 6,999, so it's cheaper as well for arguably a better equipped bike. So yeah, the Honda wins. Right, last story in this paper, and again it's back to the street triple, all the triple you'll need. This time it's the 765R, which doesn't have some of the top spec components. So here Michael News says the new street triple 765R offers all the thrills of the Racer RS that we just saw at road speeds, but for a useful £1,700 less, when it was already good value. It's just as grunty, dramatic, exciting, and dances through corners with the same poise and easy precision. This is all good stuff. The R's slightly softer setup is often a plus in the real world, and its more basic dash is easier to read than the RS's flashy TFT. It sounds fantastic, it's a cinch to ride and beautifully built. Yeah, I love the look of this, and it sounds like it's probably the better bike for me, actually, because I think those other high-grade components are probably wasted on me. And I do prefer this dash. That was the first thing that I saw when I compared the R and RS on pictures, is that this has the dash. It looks like it's the one off of the Trident, perhaps, which I really loved. Whereas the other TFT I'm not too much of a fan of. The only thing that puts me off the R is the colour schemes aren't as good. The RS we just looked at in the red looks amazing. This in the grey, not so much. I think they also do maybe a white one, but they're not very inspiring. If they did a black and gold one, I'd bite their arm off. In fact, maybe you save the 1,700 quid, buy the R, and get it repainted black and gold. That would suit me down to the ground, or even better, the old one back. Anyway, let's not get too sad. The street triple just goes from strength to strength. I'm looking forward to riding these, as I say, and seeing if I note the improvements over the one that I used to have, which was a 2012 model. They've come on a long way since those days, 11 years of development. So yeah, can't wait to get back on a street triple. Right, we're getting there. Two more stories in this one more paper, and then we're on to parish notices. Great British Bike Off, very clever. So this time they pitted the BSA Gold Star against the Norton Commando against the Triumph Bonneville T100. Interestingly, the Norton Commando is 16,499, the BSA Gold Star 6,800. So what a difference there. Anyway, it says here, we have to use the term British with a slight pinch of salt, as a fair few actually come with a degree of overseas intervention. You're not wrong there, of course, the BSA being an Indian bike, effectively. Nonetheless, if you want to buy a new Triumph, a Norton, BSA, Royal Enfield, CCM, Ariel, Brough or Matisse, you can. With this extensive menu comes a wide spread of prices, meaning that there generally now is a British bike out there to suit most budgets. Alright, let's see what their verdict is. BSA is on the money, it says here. The T100, the Triumph, is hard to fault and manages a lovely balance between practicality, authenticity and fun. If you want raw character, then the Norton is your pick, loud, vibey and with a high spec. It's not perfect, but it sounds, feels and looks far more special than either the Triumph or the BSA, and so it should at that price. The least expensive machine, that's the BSA, certainly manages to impress. Great looking, fun to ride, and with just the right amount of character. For sheer enjoyment and shorter rides, it's absolutely on the money. So a big thumbs up for the BSA. They're from MCN. They've given the BSA 4 out of 5, Triumph Bonneville 5 out of 5, and the Norton Commando 4 out of 5, taking obviously into account the difference in prices. But interesting. Love all those bikes, but then I'm a bit of a stickler for a traditional British type bike, even if they're not wholly British. Right, last paper then. One story here. The Italian job. Can Moto Guzzi's new V100M Mandello, upset the sports touring establishment? Now this is a very interesting bike that I'm really itching to ride. I haven't managed to do it yet. I don't really have any relationship with Moto Guzzi, but I'm hoping that Will's Motorcycles in Peterborough will let me ride theirs. They did say a while ago I could, but I've not heard from them since, so if you're watching, can I have a go on your Mandello? Anyway, they pitted it up against the BMW R1250 RS, a great bike. Hasn't had many updates since it went 1250 with the shift cam engine. Some tweaks this year, I think, to the electronics. That's about it, and paint schemes. Kawasaki Ninja 1000SX, the other arguably leader in the sports touring category. Again, don't think it's had any recent changes, but a great bike, lovely smooth 4-cylinder engine as well. And then the Mandello is the sort of left field option, V-twin, something a little bit different. That's what I like about it, and I think it is a handsome looking bike, so I would love to have a go on it. Let's see what MCN make of the verdict. Want soul, go Guzzi. Says John Murray, taking all the key factors, performance, handling, technology, comfort and price into account, the Ninja 1000 SX delivers the best value, and you know, I would agree with that. If money were no object, we would pick the R1250 RS for a sport touring holiday away. The RS is so accomplished and hard to fault. But if you want a sports tourer with a bit of soul, the Guzi is the one. It's not a class leader, but it does bring its own unique personality to the party. Yeah, I suspect that is the case. And of course, it's a bit different. You won't see too many of them on the road, I guess. And I think it looks really nice. I saw there's a version of it, I'm not sure if it's a special or not, that was in green with gold wheels, and I thought that looked absolutely classic, but green and gold again is another combo I can't lose with. Alright, that's it for the papers, which means... it's time to have a look at what's coming up on the channel. But before I get on to what's coming up on the channel, I must just mention the new catalogue from Bikeheads. Bikeheads are my channel sponsors, and I get all my kit that you see on my videos from Bikeheads. So if you're interested in anything that I wear, be it from Rucker, Segura, Daytona, all the other stuff, PMJ, where my jeans come from, it's all in here. It's all in this catalogue, and you can get one of these if you want from wherever you buy your motorcycle clothing. You can ask for a copy and they'll give you one, hopefully. If not, check out bikeheads.co.uk, link below in the description, and you can actually download the full catalogue from there. And as I say, everything that I wear, from the boots to my jackets and everything in between, all come from the Bikeheads catalogue. I often get asked about my clothing, and all the details are in there. If you get the catalogue, if you go to the website, you can download it, and it also tells you where your nearest stockets are as well. So recommend that to you for 2023. All right, what's coming up on the channel then? Well, first off, on Saturday, the next video after this one is my final of the Portugal Tour Series. Now, I've often said the Tour Series don't always do that well, but hopefully you've enjoyed the Portugal one. They've done relatively well, and this time I did it a bit differently, in that unlike the Alaska tour, I did a tour video, then another video, then a tour video, so I did it sort of interspersed. How do you think that's gone down? Do you think that's worked better than doing it one after the other like I did on the Alaska ones? Be very interested to hear from you, because there will be more tours coming, even though they don't do great views. I love touring, that's why I've got motorcycles at the end of the day. So there'll be more tours coming later this year, got some cracking ones lined up. Be interested to hear from you how you want me to actually distribute those. On the 5th of April, to celebrate the new tax year, there's that MASH X-Ride Trail review coming up, the 650 that we talked about. My conclusions were slightly different to what MCN came up with, but check that out on the 5th of April. Then there's another electric bike, Zero DSR X, which is the proper electric bike, off-road version though. I haven't ridden a Zero DSR for a couple of years since I, in fact, came off the DSR, so that's going to be interesting. That's coming up soon. We've got a Honda CB1000R review. I've got the new Yamaha MT10. The MT10 I last reviewed years ago when it first came out. I really loved it. Haven't revisited it since, so I was delighted to ride the 2023, well actually I think it's a 2022 model, but no changes for this model here, a few months back. That video's coming up. I'm going to make a video, I think, called My Dream Garage. If I was starting again buying bikes, which bikes would I buy of the current crop? So hopefully that will be of some interest. Another classic review coming up with a bike from Superbike Factory, I hope. There'll be the first video on the Honda Grom that I've got in the garage at the moment, and some more mini bike action following the month after that. There'll probably be some others in between as well. I might do the odd vlog, perhaps even a live stream, who knows. And the next bike news, note for your diary, is on the 3rd of May. But that's it for this bumper edition. Sorry bike news went away for a few months. It was just one of those things, situation out of my control, or whatever you say. But hopefully it is now back on a monthly basis. I try and publish them on the last Wednesday of the month. That's when I aim to do it, and I try and keep them topical with the news from that month, of course. So I hope you've enjoyed that one. Look forward to speaking to you again soon. Until then, this has been the Mist and Fly. Cheerio.